welcome to today's first edition of the London Derby. I wanted to take some time out on our first day and talk to you about one of our most key talisman players and one of the biggest players we've had at the club in the last, 20, 30 years. I don't want to step on the memories of some of the greats that have played at the Bridge and all over London over the course of the history of the EPL. But today I wanted to take some time out, focus a little bit on Frank. I think that with Frank, he's a very interesting player, and I think that what's amazing about Frank is he's been able to compete at a very, very top level after growing through what is apparently fantastic youth system in the whole of London. West Ham birthed him and gave him an incredible amount of talent, and he's refined that over the last several years. And I think that it's important that we talk about it and give credit to who he is as a player. So let's get into it. First thing in this section will be, he's had some rough games. He's had some times where he's not played at his best. But I think that one of the things that it's important to keep in mind here is that he's never really been a player that was just banging out of the box every single game, every time around, and you never really saw that from him. But what he does provide is an element of calm, and there's I think a couple of players that do that for us right now. But more importantly, he does provide that air of calm. A lot of the drama that happened last year, none of it really came around him, and I think it has to do with the way that he conducts himself. I mean, if you look at the situation, he had the separation a year or two or whatever ago, and now he's with this Christine Bleakley, I guess, and I don't know enough about it. I don't really care. What it really comes down to is that on Saturday or Sunday, I want to turn on my TV and I want to be able to watch good football. And when I see Frank start, generally I'm going to get pretty excited about a couple of pieces of play if he's playing. That's my opinion. To get more into the meat of it, the last 6 seasons, he has scored 20 or more goals for Chelsea. And I think that when considering what that stat is, because a lot of statistics, a lot of just general sports stats tend to not give weight to how great that accomplishment is. No one else in England is doing that. No one else in the Premier League is doing that. It's not like he's got Gerrard and 6 other people that are challenging him, putting up, 20 goals a year from midfield even. Let's keep that in mind. This is from an attacking mid position. Yeah, he maybe in some senses plays like what other clubs may consider a center forward type role, just behind the strikers. But for him, it's a different position because he does track back. And everybody, last year wanted to hate that he really didn't track back. He does track back. And I challenge those of you who say that he doesn't. Check out some game footage. Go on YouTube. Look it up. It's out there. I'll try to post some links maybe and, give you guys some more insight into what I'm talking about. So again, I'm not really concerned with the slow start. I'm not really concerned with the fact that he's been missing penalties. I'm just not. We have Drogba, so, it really doesn't concern me. Drogba's hungry. He may be 31, 32 years old, but I think this is a guy who, again, said it himself. I didn't sign a contract till I was 25. We got kids like somebody that always I'm getting asked about is Freddie Adu. Freddie Adu signed contracts at 13 or 14 years old, and now look at him. You know what I mean? Drogba peaked at a different ratio than any other major professional football player, and I think that is a key attribution to his success. And maybe with Drogba, that will be something that will be applied as a model moving forward. Maybe don't sign people till later on. But then you got guys like Lampard, who over the last several years has proved he's top class all around. The injury thing, I wanted to talk about that for a minute. To me, that was a necessary evil. Yes, it caused him to miss what a lot of people probably at the Bridge considered an insignificant national game for England. And for me, in that sense, I think that he and the rest of the Blues all decided that it wasn't an important thing to focus on, especially after the horrible, horrible, horrible World Cup that they experienced. So, you know, those things being said, I'm not too worried about the slow start. I think if you look back at the season last year, people were getting on Frank and jumping down his throat saying, well, you know, he's put up 20 goals for 5 years, and now we're off to this start. We're 15 games in, and he only has a couple of goals. But, you know, let's flash forward to January. Let's flash forward to May. You know, Frank was in a great position and ended up scoring 20-plus goals in all competitions. And yet here we are still talking another season where he put up those points. And I think people have, again, forgot to come back to those important things. I think too many of us live in the moment, especially a lot of the commentators that I see out here, and a lot of the people who just go online to comment and put in their 2 cents. I see a lot of you saying that he's past it and he's 30, he's getting old. You know what? Pensioners won double last year, and I think they could have won it the year before, and I don't doubt. There were times when I doubt, but I don't doubt. And I'm sure that's how you feel about your club. So for me, it's just what it is when it comes to this individual. You know, I talked about this earlier, and I want to come back to this too. In relation to some of the other players, the air I see Frank always carry himself with, it amazes me in some senses that he's not our captain. Although he's not as vocal as Terry. So for me, maybe that's why. But his calmness and his creativity creates all kinds of things around him. To me, the relationship with the other players appears to be great. I think he's a generally really soft-spoken person. So in that sense, I think that he does his best to just stay within himself and concentrate on the game, which I think is something that very, very few professional athletes today have, let alone are able to apply week in and week out to be successful. To me, like I said, it appears good. It could be good. It could be bad. I don't know. I mean, I don't sit around at Cobham and listen to every last thing that's going on with the team. I'm speculating, but I try to do my best to read between the lines, and I think that that's what a lot of us need to start adopting is, you know, read between the lines. You know, Stockernet, The Sun, Daily Mail, Goal.com, all these places, they report some really sensational things sometimes. I mean, even now, the other day, Milan saying they want to bring Balotelli back to the San Siro. Craziness. Obviously, Balotelli signed up for City because he believes in that project, and he likes Mancini. Mancini brought him in to Inter, and now he's brought him into City. I think you have to respect that situation and respect your own intelligence, not to fall into that trap that just because the Sun says that Milan is bidding to bring him back after he's been there several weeks, just craziness. But, you know, back to Lampard. Lampard is, in my eyes, a top 5 player playing right now. I think that his creativity and some of his chipped through balls over the top, some of his through balls through the middle, his vision and his ability to understand where his teammates are around him is second to very few. And I think that there would be a lot of people now with Gerard Surge. I think that he can be in contention, but I think there would be a lot of people that would be hard-pressed to even find themselves in the same category, let alone the same conversation, when it comes to creating things from the midfield, being in the right place to score goals. And maybe, you know, I've heard a lot of you say that, you know, Frank only scores when we're up 4-0 or 3-0. Well, you know, maybe that's true, but goal is a goal. And I don't think, you know, you can argue any of these things. And if you want to, that's fine. I really have no problem with people arguing with me. That's great. I think the conversation is awesome. So let's bring it on. Leave a comment in the sidebar. You know, leave me a video response about what you have to say. But in all reality, I think that he's incredibly creative and what a lot of people would call cheeky. He creates these moments that leave defenses looking one way when the play is moving another, and I think that's a foregone art, especially in today's paced game. The game is paced so much differently than it was 10 years ago, so much different than it was 20 years ago, and a man who's able to get in there and week in, week out create. And I think that's something that we also have to look at, is not only his goal tally, but his assist tally. Every year he contributes to some really key assists, and I think that one thing that gets overlooked a lot of the time is that with him as a player, because maybe he didn't score the goal, it gets overlooked. You know, maybe Drogba gets the headline because he scored a brace. But what people don't realize is maybe Drogba, you know, was having a halfway decent game, and then, you know, 50, 60 minutes in, Lampard was played off the ball, and then, you know, comes back and plays like a cheeky little counter-attacking through ball to Drogba, who breaks through and scores. You know, it was him who created that moment. I'm failing to come up with a lot of different examples right now, so hopefully I'll look those up, try to put them in some comments or link them in the sidebar. But, you know, there's been many moments where Frank has created these moments that opened up the defense and broke open the game, really, and, you know, turned it on its head. So I think that, you know, you really can't discount his talent, and just because, you know, you can evaluate his performances at any point in the season and rip it apart or stat, you know, put it into stats in any way you want. The reality that I want people to start looking at is at the end of the year, this guy isn't a Theo Walcott. He's not been injured 18 times in a couple of years. You know, he's put up consistent stats for several years, and seems to be a generally well-mannered and upstanding person, especially on the pitch. So yeah, I hope that this gives you some insight into what I feel is one of the best players in Europe, possibly one of the top 10 of all time, especially at Chelsea. And I think that he should go down as maybe one of our best players ever. But again, as you can see, I'm biased. You know, want to give love to the club, but I'm biased. So let me know what you think. You know, give me an argument of why he's not, or why you know, somebody else is better. Why Van Persie is better. Why Gerrard is better. And you know, I'm sure that all of you have your own opinions and thoughts about why and how. But, you know, let me know what you think. Send a video response. Put a comment in the sidebar. Let me know what you think. And if you're interested in participating or helping us produce shows, you can send me an email at thelondonderby@gmail.com. Check back weekly for more content. I'm going to try to post as many videos as possible. Right now it's looking like about one a week, but if something comes up and I'm motivated, maybe I'll throw up like a little 2 or 3 minute piece. So, you know, check back and make sure you subscribe in the sidebar or hit the button wherever it is and subscribe to the show so we can get people interested. Tell your friends. And we are also trying to grow this media. I am a Chelsea fan, but we want to bring in some Spurs fans, some Arsenal fans. We want to bring all these guys in and start talking about real, true football, and hopefully we can get some people motivated to start their own shows and we can collaborate together. So don't forget to give a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.